Good evening, friends. Here we are, the middle of the year. July has begun. And wherever you find yourself this night, I hope you can take a breath and take it all in and do what you need to do to tend to yourself. We are now in the second half of 2022, and we continue to wonder what it means to live in a world of COVID and war and poverty, of unsheltered persons and families, of women and their loved ones who fear for their lack of bodily autonomy and access to reproductive health. There is so much in our local communities, in our nation, and around the world to raise our stress, our distress, our anxiety, and our fears. Well, I am meditating this night from a particular standpoint, so if you'll divulge me today. In the United Methodist Church, clergy or pastors are appointed, we call it, by their bishop to their respective jobs every single year. So in the years that I've served as a pastor, every year I have been appointed to a new place or reappointed to the place that I've been serving to go forth for another year. This system of annual appointments means that every ministry, rural, urban, suburban, new start, or something outside the local church, is connected to each other as clergy are moved throughout their lives and their vocation. Well, 25 years ago, I graduated from the Iliff School of Theology from seminary with a Master of Divinity degree. And I was also ordained, at that time it was called an ordained deacon, which was a provisional ordination, a first step to the final kind of tenured ordination of an elder. And I was sent to my first appointment up in what Hillary Clinton, when she visited Montana, she coined this phrase that a lot of Montanans have latched onto. She called it hyper-rural. And many of us have driven through or stayed in or lived in places that we could nod our heads and say, yeah, this is what hyper-rural means. North Central farm and ranch country in Montana. And I have served in these 25 years a variety of congregations and towns and communities as a pastor of a local church, and then 5 years also as a statewide, conference-wide, what we call a district superintendent, kind of like a regional manager. And part of what I did those 5 years was to support congregations and clergy and laity, including the appointment of pastors. That was a big part of what I did every year. But in all of that time, it was a ministry of striving to bring connection between people, families, communities, and wherever they are on their life journey, whether they were a part of our institutional church or whether they were a part of the broader community. And I am reflecting deeply right now on these past 25 years and the lives and the towns and the churches and the groups that I have been privileged to encounter. I'm very aware that I have been imperfect in what I've tried to do or have done through the years or have not done. And now the page is turning on my life and vocation. I'm facing a new adventure that I'm thrilled about. As I step into a year, in a few weeks, I will begin a year of training, of official training as a hospital chaplain. And this is a year-long process that's a part of a national accreditation process for chaplaincy. And although I'm thrilled about it, I also acknowledge the weirdness of letting go of what has been so much a part of my life for so long, like spending weekends, Saturdays, as well as evenings in the week, preparing for preaching and worship on Sunday. So I told Doug that tomorrow, this first Sunday away, we should go out and experience something that I've heard other people talk about called Sunday brunch. So that's what we're going to do tomorrow morning. So wherever you are this day, friends, wherever you find yourself, geographically, physically, in the midst of a long-standing vocation or rhythm of work, whether that's paid work or just life, not just, but life and family and the work of being in whatever circumstance you are in, relationships or the rhythm of life that you're in. Or if you're considering on acting on a discernment or an impulse to seek out something new in your life, I hope that you can breathe deep and know that you're not alone, that you, in the familiar and the unfamiliar and the new, that you are held in love and grace. And I hope that I can remember that too. So as I stopped on Friday, yesterday, I guess, I stopped by my now former church to pick up my final paycheck. I also picked up a little book called the Upper Room Devotional Book. And these little books that if you go into a Methodist church, little or big, you may see them sticking in a brochure holder or laid out for people to take every other month to take home with them and to use for some readings and reflection and questions. Sometimes people will do small groups to reflect on them together, and other times people will just use it for their personal lives. And honestly, I hadn't picked one up in a while, but something, as I was leaving, turned around to leave yesterday, I saw that the new ones were in for July and August, and so I picked one up. This is a little book. The Upper Room has been published over 85 years. It's now translated into more than 30 languages and is in over 100 countries around the world. And as I opened it up, just a glance, I found a reading, a sharing by Reverend Kimberly Orr, who happens to be the world editor and publisher of The Upper Room. And she reflected on the topic of recreation. And I thought, well, that's timely for me and for many other Methodist clergy and congregations that I'm aware of, and for any of you who might be going through things in your life. And so I would like to share just a couple of verses. This is from Psalm 51, verses 10 through 12. These verses are often read on Ash Wednesday, actually. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and put a new and steadfast spirit within me. Do not cast me away from your presence, and do not take your Holy Spirit from me. Restore to me the joy of your salvation, and sustain in me a generous spirit. Now maybe it's just where my brain and my heart and my emotions have been as I'm getting ready for this transition, but it was good for me to reconnect with those familiar verses. And this is what Kimberly Orr says about this. She says, this plea from the heart of King David reverberates across the ages and sounds as relevant for us today as it did 3,000 years ago. The human condition remains constant. We stand in perpetual need of recreation. The Hebrew word translated create in the first verse shares the same root as the word that opens the book of Genesis, the very first verses of the Jewish and Christian Bibles. In the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth. This kind of word, this kind of creation is generative and shows God taking initiative. And so by using that same Hebrew word, the psalmist suggests that in order to truly live as we are created, in harmony with God, with self, with others, with creation around us, we must be open to the divine invitation of ongoing regeneration in the loving hands of God. In a world that continues to enduring battering waves of trauma, she says, it is good to be reminded that God is still in the business of recreation In the face of challenge, disappointment, and struggle, may we be empowered by the Spirit to affirm with the Apostle Paul, do not lose heart, even though our outer nature is wasting away. Our inner nature is being recreated day by day. And so, as you take in all the stuff of your life, of whatever's going on in the drama of your family or your community, of the sorrow of grief or loss, or the delight of turning to something new in your life or the lives of those around you, may you feel and think about that sense of the thing that we call God, that cosmic presence, is a regenerating, reinitiating, working through us, in us, and around us, by whatever name you call God. And so I'd like to close with a song. This is something we sang in church last Sunday, and it was unfamiliar, but I sang right into the microphone. But it's actually, if you're in a Methodist church, it's in our little green worship and song songbook, and it is called simply Welcome. It's in number 3152. And so I invite you to, again, think about those that you know, if not yourself and your own family and your own circumstance, who are going through something, whether it's something they know and anticipate, like I now am counting down the weeks to start this chaplaincy training, or whether it's something totally unknown. It could be something really exciting and new. It could be something harrowing or hard or painful. Those that you know who are holding and navigating illness or loss or pain in some fashion. And so this, when we sang this as a congregation, the message is, to consider how we welcome people into our midst as a congregation. But I realized when I reflected on the words too, that the sense of welcoming others is into our sphere of life, of journey, of connection, and how we might try to open ourselves, our senses, our sight, our hearing, our heart, our emotions, to welcome others, those we know and those we don't know, those we understand and those we have no idea what they're doing, to our place in the world, with our generating God around us. So here is Welcome. Let's walk together for a while and ask where we begin to build a world where love can grow and hope can enter in, to be the hands of healing and to plant the seeds of peace, singing welcome, welcome to this place. You're invited to come and know God's grace. All are welcome, the love of God to share, 'cause all of us are welcome here. All are welcome in this place. Let's talk together of a time when we shall share a feast, where pride and power kneel to serve the lonely and the least, and joy will set the table as we join our hands to pray, singing welcome, welcome to this place. You're invited to come and know God's grace. All are welcome, the love of God to share, 'cause all of us are welcome here. All are welcome in this place. Let's dream together of the day when earth and heaven are one. A city built of love and light, the New Jerusalem, where our mourning turns to dancing, every creature lifts its voice, singing, welcome, welcome to this place. You're invited to come and know God's grace. All are welcome, the love of God to share, 'cause all of us are welcome here. All are welcome in this place. Welcome to this place. You're invited to come and to know God's grace, however you would express that in your life. All are welcome. The love of God to share, because all of us are welcome here. All are welcome to this place. What would our day look like, sound like, feel like if we exhibited that intention around us? Wherever you are, friends, may you begin to ponder that as our regenerative God calls us to regenerate ourselves and to look around and to see where we can be places of healing and invitation, of solace and care. I have a little necklace or little round thing that I ordered a couple years ago, and it has a word on it that I chose, and it just says forward. And so wherever you are tonight, whatever it is that you need to consider what moving forward might be, literally, emotionally, sleep-wise, if you can move forward in taking care of yourself and tending to your sense of health, or your family or friends, those around you, how you can encounter or engage those who are not so healthy in their verbal or physical engagements. What can you do? We're in the second half of 2022. May you know that you're welcome to this place, the world, in which God continues to move and invite us to the dance of life, of love, of connection. Wherever that brings you, may you know that you are not alone on the journey. Amen.